Hi, I'm Lynn Hansen from Lynn Hansen Gallery, and I want to introduce Jesse Reno. He's the artist that's having a show in my gallery in October and November called Invisible Throne. I'm really excited about this show, and now I'm going to interview Jesse and take you around his studio, take you around some of his works. I will take over now.
Right on.
Hi, Jesse.
Hey.
So I'll just pan around a little bit and let you see all of the paintings. This is downstairs where he stores his paintings, and upstairs is his studio, and you teach workshops up there, right?
Yeah, totally. Actually, some of the camera gear is left off over because I've been shooting some online courses lately.
Oh, nice.
I released one maybe 2 months ago, and I'm working on a second one that I'll probably release in a couple months, but just
Good.
working on it slowly but surely down here. Yeah.
Good.
Totally.
When do you think you'll open for regular workshops, when people can come in?
Tell me when. Whenever the world's safe enough to do it. I
Right.
should have been teaching actually this week here upstairs, but I just didn't want the responsibility, and just didn't. I mean, I could have made it work. The space is big enough to distance, but I don't want to. I just feel like it'll kill the vibe. I mean, maybe if this continues, I'll figure out some plan like that. But at the time being, I'd rather just kind of wait it out and get back to normal, where we can see each other, talk, communicate, not worry about distance and all that. So.
Right. Great. Well, I just have some questions written down that I'd like to. First of all, I want to say that I met Jesse at a workshop. I took a workshop in Sedona, Arizona, and two of my friends, Nancy Thompson and Martha Hurst, were with me, and we had such a good time in Jesse's workshop. And after the workshop was over, I asked him if he'd like to show in my gallery, and he agreed, and so I'm thrilled. What I learned at the workshop that impressed me about Jesse is that he's so dedicated to his process and his practice, and he paints a lot, as you can see. Also, one of the things that I got out of it was the freedom and joy in painting, and that you can just paint and have joy and trust your intuition. So with that, I would like to ask you, how long have you been painting?
So I've been painting since '99, drawn since I could hold a pencil. Just did line work as a kid and all the way through till '99. And then, just started painting and went crazy pretty much straight out the gate. First year I did 100 paintings, second year I did about 300. Wow. Every year after that, for the next 10 years, I probably did over 300.
Wow.
At this point I've done 4,000, and it's been, 21 years. So,
and you do murals as well.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't done any in a little bit, but I'm trying to think, when was the last time I did one? Last summer, I guess I did one at the skate park, but just haven't, now it's been on lockdown or whatever, but yeah, totally. I've done a handful of murals, a couple handfuls, I guess.
Yeah.
Super fun. I love working big.
Good. So how did you, I know there's a specific process you have in making your paintings that I enjoyed learning in the workshop. How did you discover that for yourself?
A lot of it's little by little. I painted with someone early on. I kind of lucked out. I basically unlucked out, whatever. I was in band playing music all in the same night. I basically met an artist that blew my mind. He had an art show in the foyer where we were playing music. My girlfriend broke up with me, my band broke up, and I met this painter, and I went to paint with him, and basically it all derived out of three things he said. The first thing was, paint with your hands, you'll expect nothing yourself, because I went there, was totally intimidated, because I'd never painted before, and now I'm painting with somebody that I thought was incredible, and it's I don't know what to do, and so paint with your hands, you expect nothing of yourself, and everything's better than you think it'll be, basically. So I've tried to continue on that path with figuring out more and more processes that you don't think are going to work, that don't make sense, but by setting yourself in that space, what you end up finding is you pay serious attention, and you are way more out to get into a zone. If you're using a brush this wide to paint a little area, like something like this, you're going to sit there and be barely touch it and just watch what happens, because you know better than to think you're going to dictate a perfect move or a perfect line with the wrong tool. So you kind of learn to just watch it happen, which to me is huge. So there would be number one, and kind of an expanded view. Number two would be like, oh, I'm painting a bunch of stuff and I like part of it and I don't like a whole bunch of the rest of it. And the guy says, well, paint over everything you don't like and all that'll be left is what you like. Actually, it's funny, this is a pretty good example. I mean, I painted a bunch of different layers, but I mean, I've eliminated so much of this piece and it doesn't make sense to you when you look in, because basically I'm just getting rid of, it'd be like if I took something like this painting and then just said, I'm gonna paint over a whole bunch of this. I mean, it's a little weird to kind of just imagine, but I could just say, oh, I'm gonna take the horse's head and butt and make a giant horse over this whole thing, and whatever's left is left. And you end up with some collision and fracture of ideas where you had previous ideas that were great, but they're no longer inspiring to you, or you don't like them anymore, so you reconstruct the whole thing. And you know, even what I'm showing you now isn't necessarily paint over everything you don't like and all that'll be left is what you like, but it's a version of it. And you know, I'm always re-articulating that, trying to find new ways to expand that idea and look for more and more collisions, because I feel like that's where a truly new idea comes from. When you make a collision based on, the more you can base it on even a random interaction. If I just trace only my favorite colors and let that pull a shape out, well, then I'm not dictating. More and more, as you notice, it's like trying to get away from dictating, and that's what makes it enjoyable. Watching it happen, experiencing a thing that is unexpected, that's the most exciting thing to me. And then so then the third thing is doing what your brain tells you. I got to a point where I'm painting with this person for the first time and I was like, oh, this is great. Okay, now this is great. Oh, I painted a face. I painted a face. I painted a face. I painted a face. I'm like, I don't know, man. I just keep painting faces. Like, what do you think? He's like, well, what's your brain telling you to do? So paint faces. He goes, yeah, I paint 100 faces because my brain tells me to. You can either listen to yourself or go crazy. And you know, you could expand that. You could either listen to yourself or doubt yourself. I mean, that's what I find most in students is like, I don't know, is it good enough? Should I paint this? Shouldn't I? It's like, I don't know. If your brain told you to, what makes anything really more relevant than something else? But finding a connection. And I don't know what I'm going to paint, how it's going to turn out, but once I find a connection and form a connection, especially from that point of view, not knowing what you're going to do, doing exactly what your brain tells you, whether it makes sense or not, eliminating things, whether it makes sense or not, to just find the best of the best of the best. It's like these core ideas really drive you to understand what you think is the best of the best of the best without yourself in the way, because you're basing it on color. It could just be line. The further you get involved in a process like this, the more you dissolve into things like, oh yeah, sure, the face is cool, but I just like this. You know, I just like this interaction. I love this line, the uncertainty of it, the wiggle of it. That you start capturing things like that and really identifying like what you enjoy in process. So then you obviously, what do? You engage in these parts of the process and you get freer and freer, looser and looser, or that's what's happened to me, and just keep expanding for the next 20 years. And I feel like there's still not enough time to keep up with the next new idea, or to like, you can get it, but to experiment with it enough to like understand it or get your fill.
Yeah.
So I think I got a little
So
carried
do
away.
you ever doubt yourself when you're doing art?
Sure. I mean, not every day, not all the time, not sometimes. Sometimes, I guess, is the best answer. You know, like anything. I think any process is super fun in the beginning. Otherwise, you probably would never even start. It's all the way cool up into the middle, generally. And sometimes I'm great all the way through, but if it's going to happen, it's usually in the middle, or when you think it's ending and you're trying to finish it. Because now, what did you hear me say? Something totally different than all the other stuff I said to you guys. Like, oh, I'm trying to find, I don't know what I'm doing, and just grab things based on I like it. Once you're going, what makes this perfect and final, or what makes this what it is, all of a sudden you're looking in a new direction, and that's not bad or wrong, but it's a very different kind of weight to it. And generally, it's funny, what happens is it either works out really quick and I don't get frustrated, or I go, and then it just gets like uptight and annoying. Or it might even be cool with yesterday's thoughts, but now it's tomorrow, and now I feel this way, and I don't feel that way, and maybe I should wait till the next day to finish it, or what, but, you know, I can't resist, and I get in a fight with it, basically, where it's like, and eventually what I have to do is just let it go. And sometimes I go in a complete circle and end up finished where I started, by wrecking it and reworking it and bringing it back. And sometimes it's like, well, it was this guy, and now that giant thing's an elephant, and because I just needed a whole new idea. And but I think that's cool, because that's a lesson too. It's tomorrow, man.
Yeah.
We'll like it or not. You know, here we are, and this is what you have to deal with. So it's kind of a positive engagement in that way to learn to like just get over it. And that's the biggest lesson I feel like I learned from it. The faster I can get over it, the faster I can go do things. And I'm pretty good at that in general in life, but occasionally you bump into that, you know. And same thing with jobs, things you can do. There's doubts and moments. I haven't doubted myself in a while, but you know, anything new can give you a question.
Yeah. One of the things I enjoy about having some of your works, well, all of your works I enjoy in the gallery, but a lot of times you'll write on the back your kind of train of thoughts.
Sure.
And do you do that a lot on your paintings, write as you're painting?
Yeah, totally. Sometimes now it ends up on my phone or some other place where I'll take the notes because I'll be too lazy to take it down. But yeah, generally what I'm doing is writing down any key idea that I hit visually with the work, or that I hit like on an emotional level where I see something. It might not even be in the painting, but I'm like, whoa, this is really making this feeling idea present, you know, or this visual. I don't know why this makes me think of this, but it does. Or, you know, some note that's really identifying what's important about the painting. There's probably something here. Something
show us some examples.
Yeah, let's see who's hiding. That's not very much text. I'm trying to think who's got a lot. This one has a lot to it, but it might be on my phone and not on the painting. Oh, no, that's good.
Oh, good.
There you go. So, you know, let's see, what does it say? Reorganizing the square of a Rubik's Cube, carrying sitting horse and god masks, staining glass by hand. This was like a big piece of wood that I peeled off. Horse shepherd, continue working, learn your boundary, horse stop. A good shepherd will break your leg if he has to. So all that really, it sounds however it sounds, but basically that last line is good because that's a real catcher, right? You're like, oh shit, that sounds kind of harsh. Well, I saw this, and you know, right away this reminded me of like those pictures you see of Jesus holding the lamb. And I don't really follow a particular religion, so I didn't really know what it meant. I mean, I got my feeling of what it meant. I figured he's the protector of the lamb, he's the shepherd. Of course, that's what it means, but I decided to look it up on Google or whatever, the internet, to see what it said in a more expanded way. And every single listing I saw, if I looked along, I only looked at 5, but every single of those 5 at the bottom, as you go down, if you continue to read, it says that part of the story of the shepherd is if the sheep keeps running off, he'll break the sheep's leg. A good shepherd will break the sheep's leg, not because he by no means does he want to hurt the sheep, but the sheep needs to learn that it needs to be with him to be protected. He'd rather break its leg and protect it than to let it run off and get eaten by a wolf, basically, which I thought was pretty intense. And it was pretty interesting, the timing of this. This was the first painting actually of a resting horse I ever did. I do a lot of horse paintings and I relate to a horse, like the idea of work and people using horses for work, and I identify with the horse like a workhorse. Like I'm always working, I don't know when to stop. I don't really know what to do when I stop, but I thought this was really interesting. And then this story, I was like, whoa, you better chill out. And I had like a really heavy, I've had a heavy past 10 years, taking every experience I could, every opportunity, whatever. But that year I did that, plus bought a new house, sold a house, reconfigured the whole house and studio. So basically it was a heavy year, man, and I needed like a break. And I was just like, okay, I hear you. And that's what the painting's about. And you can kind of see that in the back, but it just hit me like such a ton of bricks seeing this. And like, it was like, what an acknowledgement, because it's just so not my nature to say it's time to calm down or time to relax. It just feels like you're gonna get old and die to me. Not saying that's what happens, but that's my personality's like, it's so against ever taking a break, because that's how you take another break and another break, and that's how you're like on the beach in Mexico, which sounds good, but then you just drink until you're drunk and you do nothing and you sit in the sun. And I don't know, I'd rather just keep making another 1,000 paintings, because whatever.
I'm glad.
That was, gotta watch out for me.
So you have a lot of personal symbols.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about your personal symbols? I have a book at the gallery that describes a lot of them, but I'm sure you add them as you go.
That book's pretty good. That was up till about 2012. And funny enough, there's not too many more extras. I mean, they kind of come about where things start showing up in a painting. Horseshoes hidden in there. I've been thinking about horseshoes for probably like 5 years. It's funny that they weren't even in my paintings very often. But, you know, I can kind of guess what they are. I can kind of think, oh, it's probably about good luck or bad luck or this or that's what was my guess. And or maybe it's just about hard work, you know. And then I finally got one.
Is that a horseshoe there?
There is no, that
The
guy.
shape. but
Yeah,
not-
totally. Yeah, that's just a fragment left over on maybe accident purpose. There's one up in that guy. There's one on his neck on that horse there. Right there's one hidden in there. There's one on that other horse. But they find themselves sometimes into weird positions. I'm trying to think if there's any others on these that are in a good weird spot. But basically, what I came to realize was that it's, as much as it's about hard work, it's actually about take your shoes off and relax. Like, calm that down. This is on your foot, man. Doesn't mean you got to work every day, and doesn't mean that not working every day is gonna be lazy. It's funny. It's like a continuation of this. We're now maybe 6 months after this happened, so kind of settling into it, calming down a little bit. I mean, you can even see this guy. It's funny. This horse, not standing, not working. If you look at any of my
So are
older
these
work.
done during COVID?
These guys were like right before it, these two. But
Yeah, I think I
back
saw that
here,
one.
this stuff is COVID work for sure. This is heavy right in the middle of it, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Like the separation and just like nobody
Oh,
really
yeah.
trusting anybody, people questioning whether this is real or that's real or this is right or that's wrong or what do you do or we're okay but don't hang out with him, he might be sick kind of vibe. That, you know, we're all experiencing to some level or somewhere you've
Right.
seen it, whether you've experienced it, you've experienced it on media or through a friend or through yourself. But yeah, I did a whole series of work connected to that piece particularly. It's interesting, most recently I've been kind of moving more towards this real organic landscapey abstraction plant kind of stuff. It's like I finished this series with these nobody trusting everybody and these harsh, like, lonely figures, and then yeah, just the last week has been really full of that stuff.
Can you talk a little bit about this piece? Is in the Icon show.
Sure.
Can you
Yeah,
tell
that
me
just
about that piece?
what I find interesting there was, you know, I knew the show was coming up. You'd invited me to apply and see what was going on with that, so I kind of looked it over, and I was working on, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 8 pieces at the time, not knowing what was going to go where, but the Seagull came out, and the piece is called Wooden Eagles, just thinking of them as like decoys or like statues or old, mainly the jumping between a statue, a decoy, and a real eagle, and just the idea of like, where are we now, man? What's going on? Where is liberty? Where is freedom? What is it?
Oh, awesome.
Is it intact? Is it not intact? You know, everybody's gonna have a different idea. There's gonna be 2 very different ideas, but you know, kind of whichever side of that you're on, you probably feel pretty threatened by the other side and upset, and just interesting thinking about that. You know, I don't it's so many things that it's kind of hard to express in a single quick answer, but I don't know, you know, we don't know. I guess the biggest thing I think now is just the lack of like, basically I think a lot of things comes down to a lack of respect and courtesy, man. Like why people are so angry, because like you could disagree, that's fine. You used to be able to disagree and agree, or agree on some part of it, where now we want to just say it's us and them, and somebody's gonna get mad that I'm even saying that, and it's like, dude, there's more than 2 answers all the time. There's like 100, and there's conflicting things from each side all over the place, and there's certain things that just should never be a conflict. People should have basic rights. People should never be killing each other. People should never be dominating each other for no reason. But beyond that, there's a lot of crap that gets all tangled together. And what happened to the idea that like that's what made it cool, that we could disagree and have different ideas and different ways of doing things and seeing things, and still kind of come down and go, oh, but we're still all Americans at the bottom of it. Where now it's like, I know, and change is hard, man. It's kind of like a shitty relationship. You almost have to do something bad and crazy to move forward, right? Because everything's so ingrained in there. You know, it's getting a little deep and serious about it, but why not, right? I mean, you know, when you're in a situation, not to bring up the relationship, you don't just leave nicely. You might be nice to each other 6 months later or a year later, and some people do get luckily enough to split and maintain a nice relationship, but generally there's got to be some fighting and arguing and shit that doesn't even make sense to the argument, and finger pointing and blame and all this crap to get to a point where you can kind of reconcile and make a real difference or change in yourself, or go, I don't belong here, or whatever. And I don't know, whatever. That's all that I was
Thank
reflecting
you.
on while
That's
doing it,
awesome.
whether
Yeah.
it's there or not, it's in there.
Thank you.
You know, yeah, totally.
Yeah,
And
I really like
yeah,
that.
see what happens.
Yeah. Are there any other pieces you'd like to talk about before we
Let's
close?
see.
There's so many
Yeah.
exciting
I
pieces.
mean, I could talk about almost any of them. This one's pretty good and strong as far as the conversation. The monument one over here, that's from the same set with these isolation pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one other one, but that one actually is gone. But anyway, why am I talking about that? This one, I mean, the idea monument is written on there. It was when everybody was defacing the monuments. And just thinking about that, like how intense that is. It's like, sure, okay, here's this piece of history that's here, right? And it's valuable, and we're just wrecking it on one hand. And on another, it's like, well, I don't know, man. You took this thing that was important and stood for an idea at a certain time and place in history, and something that should have been remembered on these bases, but now it's now. And now everybody's mad about this, that, and that, and that, and that. And now we know other things about this person or place or thing that was supposed to be great that might be tainting how great it was, or, you know, not in alignment with that piece or whatever. I mean, we all know. I don't need to really tell you guys. But just the idea of like it being reclaimed, I don't know. To me, here's the part that got important was like, wow, man, people are taking this thing that was meant to be art in the first place and a commemoration and a memory, right? And now they're wrecking it, but like they're making it their own. And that's a whole nother time and place in reality, right or wrong, I don't know. You know, I'm not the decider of that shit. That's not even for a judge. That's everybody's person and opinion and right. But to me, it just hit me like, wow, that's real heavy, man. People who aren't, not that they're even trying to be an artist and not that it's all about artists, but like people are feeling so driven that they want to just take this thing over and reclaim it in their own way somehow. And to me, that just seems like kind of like the most artistic, real thing, like even outside of art, just because I think of art as expression beyond just art and all that shit. Like it's an expression of an idea and a feeling, and what are they doing, man? They are re-expressing themselves over this stuff, and I don't know, it just really hit me like, whoa, that's real art. That's the first real art I've seen in a while. You know, it's like graffiti scene was big for a while because it was like, whoa, that's wild and that's real art because they're just doing that, or outsider scenes, they're just things that I've always loved as an artist, and then seeing that kind of felt like, wow, man, that's heavy. And then it's heavy, it's there. I don't know, that might be the nicest thing to leave there, even if we don't like it in the end, to remember that we had to have this freak out for better or worse, or you know, to change things, or even if they're the same. It's like, ugh, I don't know. That's how I actually look at my paintings, is like remembrances of my turmoil, of my growth, of my success. I mean, it's always in my face. If I paint every day, I mean, that's part of what drives me to continue, is like I can see the progress. And if I'm painting really negatively, well, then I need to make a change, you know, or the world, you know, you see what upsets you and what brings you joy, and like how do you align with the good and unalign with the bad and move through it. So I don't know, that piece brings up a lot of those ideas. I don't know. I mean, I like them all. I'm really into this horse piece with these unicorns and the birthday cake. I don't even, funny enough, like I can't really articulate exactly what it means to me. I mean, there's feelings, and I mean, I guess that's really what it is. It's like one's like kneeling, floating, slash, you know, it looks kind of graceful. It's got the horseshoe stamped on his neck. You've got these birthday candles that I'm not sure what for. I don't even know why there's two of them. The second one has the spines on his back like a dinosaur, like as if he's lived through some extinction that he overcame. I don't know, we can see what's written on the back. That might cue me to something good. I mean, I really dig the piece, but well, pretty simple. Unicorn birthday wish. So, and you know, you can tell by the way I'm talking about it, funny enough, right? That like, it almost makes sense that that's what it says. Aside from the candles, but like just that it's that simple. It's like it's an idea and a feeling, and it's not always such a transformation. It depends on the piece. You know, every piece is different. Some come out quick and direct. That was actually a pretty direct piece. The main change is there was 3 unicorn horses, and I ended up down to 2, and their postures changed. You can kind of see where legs used to be, and these were like legs from this guy. You can kind of see his head over here.
See the horn.
Yeah, there was more of them in front, but you know, the basic idea was just they were just standing there, chilling out, kind of having a moment. And unicorn to me is like purity, goodness, rarity. So, you know, I think I'm still in my little horse zone, figuring out where I am. And isolation's made that cool and weird and educational too, like what's important, what's not. you know.
So
So,
this castle piece is one that I was really drawn to because there's another one that's going to be in the show called House.
yeah.
And it's smaller than this, but it has the same feel to it. So what inspired Castle?
Yeah, I'm good. Glad you asked, actually. That's actually a good one to talk about. Probably better than any of the ones I chose. But a lot of it relates to this place, getting this place. I mentioned earlier, like kind of briefly, like I got this new house studio. It was a old craftsman house, then it was turned into a church, and now it's reclaimed as a house. And it just feels like a castle to me. I mean, it's an icon to me, or I don't know, it's like a place, it's a being, it's a thing. I mean, it's like, I've always daydreamed to be in a space like this, and accomplishing it just feels crazy. Having space to work, view my work, really look at it, where I'm not just jammed in a bedroom with all these paintings and painting in the corner of it. You know, I mean, I've walked out of that little by little over the years, but to achieve this just seems like unbelievable. And just like what you can do with it, and how it's not just, my other house was my house. This place is like the castle. I mean, it really is. It just feels like I have everything I need to do what I like doing, and I just feel peaceful here. I'm glad to be, I was excited when I had a public studio. I'm glad to be like hidden away, like the castle on the hill. I'm not that hidden, but you know, that's part of it too. I'm just gonna peek to see if there's stuff on the back, because it often cues me to like something more particular to the exact story. And again, we have House Castle. Shoe. Oops.
Well,
But,
we know, we heard the words
yeah.
you just said. That's good.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I love it.
Yeah, and I ended up doing, it's funny you mentioned you have the other one. I did like almost a whole series, just like not on purpose, but about the house, because it was the most important thing going on.
Yeah.
Trying to get it, getting it. It's funny, it's actually a pretty long spurts of the series, then it got way thick, and then it spurted out, like trying to get it, getting it, and then dealing with getting it. I mean, it was a lot of weight and fixing and working and doing, and just time and energy, and awesome in the end. But I seriously, in the last month of getting it finished, fixed, I was just like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. Like seriously, dude, I felt like I was just like, like nothing was going on. My health was fine, but I was just like, I'm gonna die. Like I can't do this. I can't wake up at 8 a.m. every day and talk to these people about fixing shit and going there and doing it and being and not having a studio for like months, because I moved out of my studio, threw everything in here while this place was under repair for 3 or 4 months, and then it was weird. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, it's a great place, and I love coming and visiting your studio.
Right on.
And
Thanks.
I thank you so much for doing this interview with me. I'm going to put it on the website, and I know that people will enjoy watching it. And thank you so much, and I can't wait to put your show up.
Awesome. Thanks, Lynn.
Thanks, Jesse.
Super appreciate it.